Therapist Jane Marks. Jane, good morning to you.
Good morning,
Talking about something very important in Teen Talk today. We have a question here. It's about parents, actually. How do they teach safety to teens at school when we're hearing so much about violence and potentially school shootings?
I know, and the thing about schools, by and large, is that this is where students and teachers should feel safe. But I have to say that schools do an extremely good job of providing safety for their students as well as their teachers. I think for parents these days, though, they need to be smart about how they prepare their kids. And so with that in mind, I think it's very important that parents, first of all, have an awareness of whatever the school's safety plan is. You know, that usually most schools will have a crisis plan, and for parents, you need to alert your kids that most of these situations typically happen in specific areas: parking lots, points of entry, stairs, stairwells, restrooms, cafeterias. And as parents, it's important to have at least a sense of exactly what the plan is. So, to the extent that you can get that information from your school, do so. Now, teens, develop your own, teens and parents, develop your own safety plan with your child, a practical plan that helps lower teens' risk. For example, what is the safest place you can go if you need to, in an emergency? How do you get there? Who is going to travel with you? Can you walk? How do you feel about what the safest place is on campus? But a safety plan is important. Now, number 3, it is important that peers, if they see friends or their peers who are on the verge of possibly displaying acts of violence. And let me explain what I mean by that. Playing with weapons, bragging about acts of violence, showing an obsession with violent movies, playing violent games, bullying. These are the kinds of things that are important to report. And I think it's also important for parents to be aware of that, the fact that just because your kids are not in the trauma themselves, if they witness it, they are likely to experience post-traumatic stress as well. So this is extremely important. There are so many things that teens are confronted with on campus, and there's so many things that need to be reported. For example, suppose you see people on the school grounds that don't appear to need to be there. A lot of times you just sort of look at it, but you don't report it. There are so many areas that we encourage teens to report. If in fact you see people who don't seem to belong there, if you witness kids bullying other kids or threatening other kids, if you witness any kind of uneven behavior, or if you see things that from an instinctive standpoint seem wrong, the most important thing to do is to teach your teen to report it. We sort of stay away from that because we fear that there's going to be some sort of retribution. But this is a different kind of environment these days, so we want parents to be as alert as possible and as aware of what the potential dangers are.
Truly the idea of if you see something, say something. You don't have to worry, oh, it's too young. You never know when it could actually be something.
And you're reminded of that situation that happened with the 5-year-old girl, and these parents had taught their child to talk. And so the issue of communication is important. We always talk about in these Teen Talk segments, keep the communication open. Keep it open with your youngsters so that they're more likely to put language on these issues as they come up. But this is a different kind of world than it was certainly when we were going to school back in the day. And so being alert, being conscious of potential dangers out there is a pretty important part of the parenting process.
Very great advice once again from family therapist Jane Marks. Thank you for being here. We're going to put all of that advice online for you to see it one more time at WTXL.TV. We have your Money News coming up next. Don't go away.